So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we are live now on the wealth debate. Maybe not quite yet. It says it's redirecting, so give us another couple of seconds. We are live. Even though I might not be looking like I'm live, we are definitely live. So, welcome to, I think this is like 15 or 16 things like this,
16, I
Sam.
think this is 16.
16 wealth debates. That's I don't think I can't remember doing anything 16 times in my life in that short a time frame, but
I can think of a few
nonetheless,
things, but
no, let's not go there. So welcome to the wealth debate. Anybody's going to know what's on, wants to know what's on my shirt. This is the university that my daughter goes to, University of Missouri, Kansas City, and they are the roos, the kangaroos in the middle of the country. In the U.S., I've never seen a kangaroo here. And
yeah,
so there you go. Hey, it's all good.
That's true. Never seen a raptor either, but I guess,
I've seen a kangaroo. I definitely have never seen a raptor, and I'm darn glad I've never seen a raptor. That's for sure.
Yeah, we got no raptors in Canada.
Yeah, we don't have any anywhere, thank goodness. I don't think, right? They're extinct, I believe, depending on what kind of raptors we're talking about.
I heard. That's what I heard.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you're out there in Facebook land and you're watching us live, please say hello on the chat. We would love to have you say hello. Let us know that you're here. Jennifer, just my wife, happy sweet 16. So this is our 16th show, 16th birthday, Sam.
There it is. There it
is. That's crazy.
That's crazy. It is.
So when it becomes 216, that'll be really crazy.
Yeah, and it will.
And you'll have even more gray hair than you do now. Exactly. So yes, if you're out in the Facebook world and you're watching this, please say hello. I'll keep asking you the same thing. If you have anything you want to talk about, any questions that you want to go over, be happy to do that. I'm sure Sam is full of it. I mean, full of something. I mean, full of information tonight. Did I say that out loud?
Well, we got what we wished for. We wished for a infrastructure investment in the country, infrastructure bill that was introduced, or at least the proposal was introduced by the president. It's $2 trillion to be injected into a couple different places, but mostly infrastructure is the goal, to get people jobs and stimulate the economy like that. Now, we talked about this actually, about how the recovery is going to happen and what they need to do with recovery versus, say, the initial approach was helicopter money. That's money, that they threw out of a helicopter and just gave to people with no actual production of product or services, which Biden and his administration, the president's administration, actually did. Previous to this, 1.9 trillion was the COVID program bill that they put together and got to the American people. So now they're talking about this new infrastructure bill and the breakdown. I'm just going to give you the breakdown. So 621 billion into transport infrastructure, bridges, roads, public transit, ports, airports, electric vehicle development. This is a big thing, definitely in the future. Directed 400 billion, to create, to care for elderly and disabled Americans. Inject more than 300 million into improving drinking water infrastructure, expanding broadband access, and upgrading electrical grids. 300 billion into building and refitting affordable housing, retrofitting, along with construction and upgrading schools. Invest 580 billion in American manufacturing, research and development jobs, and training efforts. Now that's sort of the breakdown of the $2 trillion that they're going to use. They're talking about spending a ton of money, a portion of that, into creating a nationwide grid of electric, the electric plug things, for cars, like gas stations for electric cars, building that into the infrastructure. They're talking about, we're talking major millions of jobs that could be created, will be created, or directly or indirectly, affected by something this massive. Now, this is, in my view, all good news. This is all great. They're talking about, by the end of April, 200 million PEP, right? 200 million Americans will be vaccinated. 40 240 million will have already had it. So that's about 240 million. So you're getting 2/3 of the population, more than 2/3 of the population, that are going to be somewhat resistant to the virus. In Canada, they're talking about the end of September. Canadians will have 2 shots. All Canadians of concern will have 2 shots, and life will be back to normal, as they say. So COVID is being beat slowly but surely. We in Ontario went back into a red recently. So they've reduced the amount of people we can have restaurants, and it's not a complete lockdown, thankfully. But there's been some concerns about the rising rates. So I think Canada is going to be a little slower in getting things done. So they're going to damage the economy for sure more than the U.S. Hoping that this will make sense, because we're not having as many people hospitalized. In the U.S., they've decided to go the other way. We'll take the risk of hospitalization and accelerate the rate of vaccination. So either or, you're paying the price. I think the United States, like most times, they put their economy as very, very, at the top of the list. And I'm not against that. I don't think it's wrong. Obviously, human life is the most valuable thing, but you got to balance it out against everything else. So that's just the challenges of being in leadership. So thankfully, we don't have to make those kind of decisions. Anyways, what does this mean for everybody? Because I do believe that Canada is going to follow suit in something similar to that and do the same thing. So that's good news. The bad news is when the government turns on the tap, that's when corruption goes wild. So what's really going to be important, because they're talking about 15 years of funding for this coming from, you ready? From the increase of corporate tax from 20 to 28% in the U.S. That's pretty big. Now, that was recently reduced in the last administration. I think it was 32 down to 21. Now the Democrats are talking about bumping it from 20 to 28 because they got to pay for this, right? Now, the tax, that impact's going to be huge. It's going to be huge for the market. It's going to be huge for corporations, because that's a huge hit. And repatriating money, creating more stiffer laws and taxes and fines, I guess, are going to come for trying to do offshore, running your business offshore, to avoid taxes. So there's a lot of stuff coming down the pipe to try to fund the taxes being the rising of taxes being mostly taken on by corporations, and the what they consider rich, which in this particular program that the president presented, was over 400,000, I believe, a year. So there's going to be some heavy bills to pay. The funding is probably there today by increasing the tax when it looks like on paper, but of course this is going to affect the long-term growth and profits of these companies, right? And they're going to try to get creative to find it out. And if you cut off the, trying to make money outside, this is going to have a serious impact. Now, so we will see the funding of that, the taxes that we think we're going to get from that extra 8% go, be less and less each year as they become more intelligent about how to avoid or minimize the tax impact of profits. The other, like I said, the bigger concern actually is corruption. So when the government turns on the tap, everybody goes homicide. Now this actually happened in Japan as they were trying to fight off, and stimulate the economy. They created an infrastructure program where they spent a ton of money, but it was abused, and it further dug them a deeper hole into deflation. So this isn't just it's going to happen and everything's going to be okay. If this money is not spent properly, if it's not spent responsibly, if it's not directed to the proper parts of what they're talking about doing within that relative budget, they're going to have problems. So I'd imagine this $2 trillion project that they're talking about is going to be $4 trillion by the end. That's my prediction. It'll be $4 trillion by the end, at least double, probably more by the end of this period. I believe that there's going to be a massive deficit incurred because the tax dollars that they believe they're going to get from this increase in taxes is going to become smaller and smaller over the next decade to 2 decades, because they'll become more shrewd, right? Taxes to people who are directly impact. Corporations are going to get smarter and smarter about how to structure their incomes, their profit margins to reduce that taxable impact. So they're not going to be able to fund these projects as they should. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I like the idea of jobs. I like the infrastructure idea, and I really do. It's just making sure that it's not abused. So we're going to see a lot of money come from the government, but at least there's some sort of production or service created. We should see the economy grow and expand in the next, I would say, at least 5 years, because the money that's coming in from the government is going to do that. Now, I do believe that Biden and the Democrats, they talk about timeframes of 10 and 15 years because they expect to be in office for the term of this, and they'll keep funding it. That's the other challenge. They'll keep funding it regardless of how bad it's going. So you can expect another infusion probably in 3 years, just before election time, right? For re-election, if he decides to do that, or the vice president decides to, or some other Democrat, to ensure that this is going to keep going, because people don't want to knock out the administration that gives them jobs. So we're going to see some growth, which is good, which is great. What does that mean for real estate and the stock market? Real estate will probably have the biggest advantage and impact of that. I think we'll see that because what we're talking about is the mid to working class and lower getting the biggest benefit from that. And then there's going to be, obviously, the builders are going to make a ton of money. Construction companies are going to make a ton of money. This is where the abuses happen, though. This is when you get the agreement, the government starts turning on that tap. This is a problem. So what I don't like about bills like this, or when the government does this kind of stuff, is there's a predictability. We know the money's coming, and we know how long, what the projects are going to be, in the sense of what we're working on. So that predictability creates that corruption, and people tend to try to take advantage and game the system. And that is concerning. So we'll see how the administration does with monitoring and making sure that this money goes where it's supposed to go. They're going to fail. I mean, they're just going to fail. I believe I'm being extremely conservative when I say 2 trillion is going to be 4 trillion. It could be 5 times that. It could be 10 trillion by the time it's over. Because once the money's sunk in, they continue to put the money in because they're just sunk in. We're in for 2 million. Why not throw 2 trillion? Why not throw another trillion in there? Oh, now we're in for 3 trillion. What's another trillion? Now we're for 4 trillion. What's another 2 trillion? This is the way this kind of stuff happens. So I think that the economy is going to look great over the next few years, as long as this infrastructure bill passes, which they should be able to get most of it through. The tax part's going to be a problem. It could be resisted. We could see that reduced to maybe 26 or 24%. Who knows? But it's not that the corporations, I think, don't want to pay into the system. It's just they love that they don't have to pay more than they're paying, right? I mean, they're trying to make money. They have mandates that they have. So it doesn't necessarily solve the problem by raising taxes. I do believe in redistribution wealth is necessary. I do believe that's the function of taxes. I think that you have to be careful how you do that you can give them time to do it. And here's another thing, Pep, to really think about. So the market has a good shot of getting kicked in the teeth until the end of the year. Why? Because if that tax rate doesn't kick in until the new year, then people are going to sell, take their profits now, pay their taxes now, because the tax rate's not till next year. So this might be implemented right away. They might implement it to avoid that, right? Because if you tell people 2020, the 28% or the increase in taxes is not going to be till 2022, then you'd sell everything and take the profits at 20%, because that's the rate that it's going to be. So there's going to be some interesting things happening. The market may be very turbulent if and when this bill gets pushed through in its current state. Doesn't mean that there's not going to be modifications. There probably will be modifications, but we'll see how this goes. What are your thoughts, Pip, on this topic?
I'm not sure it's going to pass.
You don't think so,
I
eh?
don't know. I mean, obviously, we can predict all we want, but I'm not sure it's going to pass. Whether you think it should or shouldn't isn't the issue. If it does pass, obviously, what Sam is talking about. If it doesn't pass, it's going to be interesting to see, some of the other unemployment numbers and things like that. If it doesn't pass, and I see some of that with the conservatives in the White House or in Congress, doing that. And I don't know what majority of the vote they need to have for that particular passage of that bill. If it needs to be a super majority or just a majority. If it's just a majority, they'll get it. But if it's got to be a super majority, and I don't know what that kind of spending, if it doesn't have to be super majority.
There's some worry about it passing. I don't think they have everybody in the party on board and locked up, but they're talking about sneaking it in if they can't get it through the House and the Senate. They're thinking of sneaking it in through the budget. Another way, like backdoor way to get it. I think that if they market properly, it's extremely difficult for them to not get the support from who they need by saying we're creating jobs. If they talk about how the average person is going to benefit from this, I think it'd be extremely difficult for them to vote against it in certain districts. But, again, it's going to create a deficit. There's no way this is going to be funded just by that 8%, the increase of 8%. It's not going to happen. Why are you smiling, buddy?
Oh, I like watching the chat box, and I got different people in the chat. I just had a message from a gentleman in Australia, and I'm not sure. I think I met him in Perth. So I just asked him. It's to me the world has become so big, but it's also so small. Because if we would have tried to do this, what was I watching the other night? My daughter and I were flipping through the TV. Oh, the original Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the one with Gene Wilder in it. And I know I'm the guy that always comes up with pop culture references, but they were talking about how, they were running a news report. And if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. It coming in from the AP wire on satellite, it's on the satellite. That was a big deal in the early 70s, being on satellite.
Sure.
And you could get a news report from somebody in the other part of the world.
Sure.
Like I'm instantly messaging Mark in Perth, Australia, and it's 8 a.m. in the morning there for him.
Yeah, right.
It's just really cool to see
It is cool.
The world can become so small with, and whether you like Facebook or not, or it's irrelevant. It could be Zoom, it could be any medium, but we can literally contact and communicate with each other instantaneously across the world. Yeah. Where when you and I were growing up, you would have had to mail a letter because you sure wouldn't want to pay the long distance fee to call somebody in Australia. Okay, remember long distance? I mean, that was a big deal.
Remember cursive writing?
Oh.
They don't teach it anymore, I don't think. They don't teach cursive writing anymore, I don't think. I don't think it's even a thing now, right? I don't know. Yeah, the world has changed mostly for the better, for sure. At least in my view. So
I'm going to talk. I want to say something about that. The good old days. When people talk about the good old days,
sure.
I wonder what that really means. I mean, I grew up in what people consider the good old days, the 70s. I mean, we didn't have the crime. We didn't have, some of the stuff that we have today. That's a major problem. But we had other problems, and we didn't have a lot of the conveniences that we have today. Are those conveniences always better? Heavens no. But at the end of the day, I love it when people say the good old days. And I go back and talk about my parents' days or my grandparents' days. My grandpa was born in 1899. They didn't have electricity. They didn't have plumbing. Wow. Would they consider that the good old days? I don't think so. But you always hear that from the older generations. We need to go back to the good old days.
I think that's an indication that you're old, right? When you say good old days.
I guess.
The good old days. Yeah, I think that sure, we romanticize the past and we focus on the stuff that we loved about it, but we forget about some of the challenges that we had. And it's a wonderful time to be alive. It's a wonderful time to be young. There's a lot to look forward to. There is, I think every generation, at least on this side of the planet, and I shouldn't say just this side of the planet, and any really modern advanced economy, there's an entitlement, sense of entitlement from the kids. And I think that's going to happen because as parents, you want to give your children as much as you can and the least amount of pain and suffering and struggle. So I think it's normal that they would be more entitled, and each generation is more entitled than the next. So I don't know if things move faster. The technology moves faster than we can manage it. Clearly, this generation does not know how to manage Facebook and Twitter and all these things yet. But there'll be a time when they can. It'll be something that's part of the culture in a way that we know how to manage it. And there'll be social mores and norms associated with it that everyone kind of agrees on, and it'll be fine for us. And there'll be some other new thing to come on board. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. I think that more and more we're going to go to a non, if we haven't already. I can't remember. I used to be a straight cash guy, cash all the time, cash, wanted cash all the time. That's pretty much disappeared for me. The digital is so easy and fits with my lifestyle now, but I was very much a cash person. So it's interesting. I think we're going to continue in that direction. And it'll be interesting to see, how long cash survives. I think cash sitting around 4% of total money supply in paper. I might be off by that, but most of it's digital. Digital currencies, I think, are just going to be absorbed. And I know some of you probably are interested or own Bitcoin. It's had quite the run, and who knows when its top is going to be. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Bitcoin and those digital currencies. I think the more they're used, the less likely they'll sustain and maintain the valuations that they have. I think it'll come right back to back to reality, where if it's going to be actually used as a currency more relative to the dollar. So that'll be interesting to see that too. I think PayPal just put out a release that that Bitcoin can be used through them, or used as currency through them. So more and more people are absorbing. Now you think this would be, well, people hear that and think, well, that's great for Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going to continue to go up, and I'm of the view, no, that's the more people that use Bitcoin, the more it becomes like real money. And the more it's going to have to be stabilized if you want it to be real money. Nobody wants to see their, a $20 bill go down to 10. It's great when it goes up to 30 by the time you walk to the store from your house. You can buy more stuff. But if it goes down, from 20 to 10, you're not going to be too happy. So until it can sustain and maintain some sort of relative value that's, deteriorating at, a normal rate of whatever the inflation is, I think it's going to be a challenge to really have confidence in it as a currency. Anyways, I think the big news, like I said, is the infrastructure bill. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I don't know what anybody's thoughts are. Anybody have any thoughts or questions about that, or what their thoughts are? Is it a good thing, a bad thing, or is there some other area that you want to talk about in reference to wealth or finance? I think this is big news about this infrastructure bill, and I think it's going to be something that many countries are going to follow. Sorry, Pip.
We're mostly talking about long distance charges here. Don't worry about us.
Long distance charges.
Because people, we need history. We need to experience things. And so, no, I'm just having fun with you, Sam.
I remember, I'll tell you, I remember getting tapes from back home. Cassette tapes. Some of you don't even know what a cassette tape is. We got cassette tapes. That's how people would communicate from back home. Back home for my family. I was born in Canada, but my heritage and my family's from Lebanon. And when people went to Lebanon, they would bring back tapes for the families, and you would slip it into the tape recorder, and you listen to the family back home, people you've never met, talk to you about what's going on back home and who's doing what. This is the way you communicated. I mean, long distance was so outrageous. You could not make a phone call overseas. It was just, unless you were willing to give up a quarter of your salary of the month. So it was outrageous. And then I remember calling cards was a huge thing. I don't think, are they still around, calling cards? Maybe not really. Now they're phone cards, right? So calling cards were a thing. I remember getting a cell phone that if you dropped, it would have put a hole in the ground. Like, it was so big and heavy, and that was a big deal. I was, cell phones. I mean, it's amazing. My son will never know a world. He's 17. He'll never know a world without Google or the internet. He'll never know that world. So things have changed. Things have changed a lot. I think for the better. Some people don't believe that the world's worse off now, but there's no evidence of this. There's all the evidence in the world that the world is a better place. There's less wars, there's less death, famine. There's more wealth, there's more prosperity. There's more of everything. Longer lifespan for the most part, healthier, lower death rates, birth rate, death rates. I mean, death rates at birth, birth rates or population growth more specifically is really flattened in a lot of places. So that's but the only one that's kind of going in the wrong direction if you believe, that we need to continue to have tons of babies, which I'm not against either. So I think that's a good idea too. I don't believe we have a population problem. It's interesting that it used to be the biggest concern for many decades there was too many people in the world. And before that, there wasn't enough people. It's funny. The previous century, it wasn't enough people. We got to have more babies to populate the world. So it's funny how things change, which goes back to the fact that the questions are universal and the answers are not. The answers will change. So keep asking the questions. Don't be disappointed if the answer changes from time to time or as you grow. Go ahead, Pip.
Got a question. Thoughts
Sure.
on RRSPs and 401ks in the current economy?
Yes. What's the question?
Just thoughts on that. I know I have an opinion, but yeah.
I think I'm still a believer that we're in a danger zone for deflation. So for RSPs and 401ks, that's not good at all. Savers will be really punished hard because big part of being a saver in your 401k and your RSPs, a portion of it usually, and depends on your age, is put into government bonds or munis, municipal bonds, or state, or whatever, provincial, whatever you want to call them, but government related bonds. The yields on them are going to be pretty meek. It's going to be pretty low, so it'll be tough to take money and just let it sit there and do nothing and earn an income from it. You're supposed to, or sorry, I shouldn't say supposed to. The philosophy is you put your money in, you can spend the interest, but leave the principal alone. Well, for you to spend the interest, you need a decent return, and you're probably not going to get it in an RSP or a 401k with just investing a good chunk of it. As you get older, you want less risk. Investing in bonds, you're going to have to take more risk. So I think that it's going to be a big struggle for that. I also believe that incomes are going to continue to be flat for the next 2 decades. I mean, their incomes are not going to move. Real incomes are not going to move. But this isn't necessarily a bad thing. We've talked about this. Incomes don't need to move if competition is healthy and they're pushing prices down. That's fine. I think that still, though, there is that concern of deflation more than inflation. Now, all this stuff should be creating a concern for inflation. This infusion of capital and cash, the helicopter money, and these jobs, this infrastructure bill should infuse a lot of cash. The bond 10-year yield has gone up, continued to go up, and this is an indication that there's some concern about inflation as the bond price goes up. So I think there's a little bit of concern there, but the market's not acting like they're too concerned about it as it continues to rise. I think that they're not, as usual, not ready to accept the fact that there might be a serious problem with the economy in the coming decade. We'll have to see. But I think this is a good thing about the infrastructure bill. Just I'm worried about the corruption. And the bill's not going to be $2 trillion, that's for sure. That's not happening. I mean, and the 28%, the increase, if they get it passed, that extra 8%, which is considerable, it's huge. That 8% is not going to cover the bill. It's not, because every year they're going to get smarter and smarter and more sophisticated on reducing their taxable impact. So they won't be paying 28%. They just, extrapolating this idea that you're going to get 28% for the rest of, next 15 years. You're crazy. I mean, accountants would be out of work if it was that simple. You can't just, the accountant's going to find a way to work the system legitimately, legally, to not pay that 28%. That's insane. That's not happening. That's almost, I mean, what is that? That's 40, that's a 40% increase, right? 4 times 2 is, yeah, 40% increase. That's pretty substantial. Imagine your taxes going on 40%. Impact of that. You'd be pretty motivated to find some creative ways to pay less. Legally, of course, always legally. So RSPs and mutual, you know, that whole area, I think, are going to struggle if you're going towards the bond market. If you're in RSPs and 401ks, you want hyperinflation. You actually want hyperinflation, so you can capture bonds, government bonds, and GICs, and, you know, guaranteed income certificates, some sort of bond that pays 12% because of a brief moment in hyperinflation. Because after that hyperinflation comes, the next few decades, you know, we work towards bringing it down. All of a sudden, you're earning 12%, and the current bond, you know, mortgage rate stays at 5% or 6%. That's huge. That would be huge. So that's what's so crazy about the market. That's what's so crazy. You almost want a shaky, high inflation market when you're a saver, so you can capture the higher rates. In Europe, they're getting negative 1% in government bonds. Like the German bond it's negative. It's negative. Japan, negative. Like, I mean, it's crazy. Imagine trying to be a saver in a country where they're giving you negative yields. Forget about it. I mean, it's insane. So this is where, you know, the government, and I can't see the U.S. doing this. I really can't. Say U.S. stepping in, saying, well, we'll beef up Social Security. We're going to beef up, when you're retired now, you can retire earlier, and we're going to pay you more. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So I don't know. I don't know how they're going to make up the difference. I think if there was ever time to get financially educated, anytime in history, man, you need to get on that wagon real quick, because it's going to be, if you're not equipped and intelligent and educated to learn how to extract higher returns than inflation or deflation, you're going to be in trouble. I think it's going to be very, very difficult. Asset prices are going to get kicked in the teeth. We just don't know when.
Obviously, some people are commenting with self-directed RRSPs or self-directed IRAs in the US, what it is. And I mean, and invest in real estate. So that's one of the comments. Here's a comment from one of my Australian guys right now. Just talked about shifting money from gold stocks into ETH, as I'm bullish on ETH as a short-term opportunity. Thoughts on that? And for those of you guys that don't know what ETH is, I don't know if I can pronounce it right, Ethereum or something like that. It's kind of probably the second one after Bitcoin when it comes to cryptocurrencies. I don't know if it's second or third. I just know it's it's not Bitcoin, so everybody knows what Bitcoin is, and it's got a cool name. But Ethereum, it's got a tougher name, but it's the second one, I think, in size wise after
like silver to gold kind of thing, where you expect silver to catch up to gold based on some weird equation, and they think that this one is gonna, it's got room to grow because people, it's cheaper, costs less than Bitcoin. My view on gold and cryptocurrency, period, but more so gold. I'll speak to gold first. Gold is really not, it's not about making money in gold. It's the big advantage of gold is a hedge. So a good strategy, or one that I thought was interesting and good, was to hold 5% of your portfolio on gold. When the price goes up and gold becomes more than 5%, sell it until whatever you have to sell to get back to 5%. If it goes down, because the price goes down, buy more of it till it measures up to 5%, and keep your portfolio balanced with that. Now you could do the same thing with a cryptocurrency, but I think trying to make money on a cryptocurrency can be dangerous and challenging if you're not a trader. It doesn't move like gold. Like gold, I mean, gold is moving backwards compared to cryptocurrency, the volatility of cryptocurrency. So I don't want to tell you don't buy cryptocurrency. You can't make money, because that's just not true. But you have to be a trader, I think, if you want to play that game. It's extremely volatile. I remember being with a student in, I want to say Vancouver, Pip, and the student had gold and was asking me if they should sell their gold. And I think gold had came off its high, almost 20,000. It came off its high, was coming down to somewhere around, I don't know, 16,500. And he heard me talking about gold, and I, at the time, felt like gold was going to go back to, I said gold will go back to $1,200. That's what I think gold's going to do. It's going to go back to $1,200. Somewhere around $1,200 to $1,000. So he was asking me, should I trade in my gold for cash? And I said, look, you do what you think is right, because he was looking at trading his gold for cash to become an investor in real estate, right? To get trained and he ended up doing it and he did well for himself, thankfully, and invested in real estate. But I'm not against gold or holding gold, but trying to make money on gold, I don't think it's a profitable game over time. Believe it or not, gold has lost value over time. Nothing can trap wealth, not even gold. And let me share this with you, okay? Those of you, I'm sure you've been on the calls before. Currency, money, paper money is called fiat currency. Fiat is Latin for, this is a rough translation, let it be so. It's mandated value by the government. That's what currency, like dollar bills, are. There's nothing backing the dollar. It's not backed by gold or anything like that. And I know many of you know, 1971, U.S. was off the gold standard. Canada was actually off in 1970. Floating currencies off the gold standard. The rest of the world was hooked to the U.S. dollar. So obviously, when they went off the gold standard, everybody else was off it anyways, right? So that mandated currency, it's fiat currency. I want to share this idea with you. Gold is a fiat currency. Gold's value is invented. It doesn't really have value. I mean, it doesn't. It doesn't. You're not born knowing, oh, gold is worth money. It's worth something. You have to be taught that. It's not something that's really has any real value other than the one we put it on. So in my eyes, in my view, gold is a fiat currency too. All right. Anything that has value, the market has decided its value. Why is gold worth anything? I mean, it's got some cool traits. We talked about this. Gold comes from outer space. Can't be, it's not like oil. Over time, the earth can create oil, trapped sun energy as oil. Gold can't be. The heavy metals have to be made in the middle, in the core of stars, right? I mean, this comes from outer space. So all the gold in Earth is all the gold there'll ever be. That's because what you need to actually create the heavy metals like gold. You just can't produce it. The earth can't produce it unless it's gonna, I'm sure one time it'll produce it when it implodes on itself and, the end of time, then gold won't matter. But anyways, because you need massive amount of heat and energy to do it. Anyways, gold, and because of the attribute of gold, it basically has no half-life. It doesn't deteriorate over time. So these are some cool traits. Comes from outer space. You can't make any more of it. And it barely deteriorates, like it doesn't deteriorate. It's got no half-life, right? It doesn't what's the word I'm looking for? Not radiation. What's that word when it deteriorates? What's that called? I can't remember the word. It'll come to me. Okay. So when something deteriorates over time, so it has some cool traits, but it's not valuable beyond what we say it's worth. I mean, it's all invented. Wealth is an invented concept. For most of our existence as human beings, we haven't had wealth, right? We've been living hand to mouth. So gold to me there's nothing like diamonds. Have you ever studied diamonds? Like, talk about a racket. I mean, diamonds, what a scam. There's, these companies in the world that control the diamond market. There's so many diamonds. There's way, if we're going to talk about supply and demand, they're controlling the supply of diamonds, and some excellent marketing, makes it worth something. What do they say, Pep? 2 years of salary for the diamond.
Well, I think it's
Michael's. Yeah, but the Michael Scott formula.
I think it's 2 months' salary is what it's supposed to be.
What a great invention. What a great marketing thing, right? Like,
well, even the slogan, diamonds are a girl's best friend. I mean,
it,
I've heard some
it's,
really good country songs about diamonds and that
yeah,
kind
there you have.
of. Sam, what's funny is when you can't find a word and I don't have the word for you, how many people start typing it in the chat.
What was the word?
Instead of I don't know, you were saying deteriorates over time. Somebody said half-life erodes. I don't know what word you're
It
looking for.
is, it erodes. Half-life is right. Half-life's right, but there's a word for it. I know this word. What is this? What is
I
the
like
word?
I like
What
putting it
is
out there. I like putting it out there. So
Spirit, what is that word?
I don't know what you're thinking of.
Oh my gosh, that's gonna kill me. Somebody come up with that word. Anyways, so going back to your question about gold and should you sell your gold and invest in cryptocurrency? I mean, I don't know. What's your plan? Do you have a plan when you get into cryptocurrency? What do you think it's gonna do? Like, what's your entry, exit, and profit target? How much are you willing to lose? I'm a fan. I'm a fan of trading. If you're going to trade options. That's my view, for a lot of reasons. And one of the reasons is you can control the cost of what you're risking. Whereas if you buy the currency or the gold, or you know, you have to put in a stop. You have to have a plan. You have to have a plan as a trader. So if anybody out there is considering or is trading, I hope you're trading with a plan. I hope you're being responsible and making sure that you have a plan before you trade in, because you'll get killed. In my view, you have a better chance of making money in Vegas than you do in the stock market. I'd say the same thing about real estate if you don't know what you're doing. I really believe that. I mean, it's not easy to make money in the stock market or real estate. It's not easy. It's not. You can get lucky, but not lucky, all the time. It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. So you need to have a plan and understand, how to do it. I'm not talking about, buying stuff and just holding it for 30 years and thinking you're getting richer, or you can afford the losses because you're a high income earner on these houses that you're buying that are losing cash flow, and thinking, I'm ahead. I'm not talking, that's not making money. I'm talking about really making real returns, double digit returns off these things. Otherwise, I mean, I mean, why anybody buys a house for an investment, pays it off, and leaves in that state for basic reasons. I'm not saying there's no reason under the sun. Very few. I don't know why anybody would want to own a property if you weren't leveraging it. I wouldn't know why anybody would buy a stock if you weren't doing cover calls, or you forget the stock, buy options. I don't understand. I'm not saying there's no situation. I don't want to make it sound like it covers every situation, but you're hard pressed to make an argument over long-term positions that are in cash or houses that are paid off in cash. Other than, it's different if you wake up in the morning, you go, gee, that's not a good idea. At least it's not a good idea. But if you're doing it, you think it's a good idea. I think that's a challenge. I think that's a challenge. So whatever you decide to do, please be careful and responsible. There's no guarantees. Cryptocurrency can't go up to the moon. It just can't. There's going to be a point where it just doesn't make sense anymore. I don't know what that point is. I don't know what that point is. In my view, Tesla to me is. I don't get it. I don't understand how people can continue to invest in companies that don't make any money. But and call it an investment. It's speculation. The stock market is speculation. You're betting on growth. Income though, no, no. These companies don't pay yields, not decent yields. So if you're looking for yields, invest in this company because it makes money. Forget about it. But you can bet on growth, and that's really what's driven Tesla and Zoom and a lot of these companies, even Amazon and Apple. I mean, do they warrant their price tag either? I don't think so. Not as an investment, as in, I invest in this company and I make money. It's all capital gains. It's all growth that you're betting on. So at some point, growth hits a pinnacle, hits a point where it can't go any further, and it's gonna come back to the ground. So we don't live long enough, most of us, to recognize, because we're too young to realize that companies like mammoth companies like IBM, like Ford, these companies were American Steel. They were mammoth companies that had huge stock prices, and I mean, what's I can't remember what's Ford at right now. $8, $7, $8.
I don't know.
This is, they have like Tesla's got a bigger market cap than Ford, I believe. It's like, what are you talking about? You gotta be kidding me. But people bet on growth. So don't try to make sense of these companies other than, do you think they're going to grow? Because that's what drives the stock market, is growth. It's growth. It's capital gain. Even the real estate market is driven by capital gains. So you got to be careful. That's why we don't chase appreciation or capital gains as a long-term strategy. We do in short-term. We like to trade for short-term capital gains. We like to flip houses for short-term capital gains, but we don't think we're really going to make capital gains over time. No, not in the stock market, not in real estate. Just the longer you hold a stock, the longer you hold property, the less likely you're going to make serious returns. Make any money at all in some cases. So if you're going to be in the stock market, seriously consider trading. Entry, exit, profit target, whether it's short-term or long-term. Have an entry, exit, profit target ahead of time, and manage your trade as you go through. The real money in the stock market is trade management, for sure. Trade management. Buying something and just holding it is not a talent. Anybody can do that. So you're going to get minimum wage at best if you do something everybody else can do. I hope that answered your question, or maybe it didn't.
Well, it's all good. And one of the comments about Tesla was they make money off their tax credits they receive and sell to other companies.
Huge part of it, huge part. But now they're talking about putting these electric stations all over the country. That would be helpful. But you still got these mammoth companies that are going to competing with them. Worldwide companies that have way more resources and infrastructure to put out these electric cars. They just, and this is their fault. These large companies like Ford and Chrysler, these companies, it was their fault. They created the opportunity for Tesla because they were so resistant to electric vehicles. They created the opportunity for Tesla. They just refused because it was just easier to stick this out, make more money. They just refused to invest in the future. And somebody like Tesla came along and just took them by surprise because they just refused. This is the same thing that happened to Kodak. Remember Kodak, just wouldn't accept digital cameras.
They invented the digital technology.
There you go. They just wouldn't accept it as a real market, something that they could push market to. And it killed them. It killed them. And Kodak had patents like massive, multi-million and tens of millions of dollars in patents that was really where their value was. But anyways, they collapsed because they refused to compete with themselves. If you're a company out there, you have to try to replace yourself. You have to make your product redundant. That's the only way you're going to survive, or someone else will. Yeah, I say this to my son all the time. Son, if you don't take care of your problems, the world will. You might not like their solution, but I guarantee you it's going to get solved. No, sorry. So you should probably, work on that problem now, or it's going to get solved. I promise you. I love my kid. He's a great kid. Anyways,
you're going to leave him $100 million worth of debt, right?
$100 million worth of debt, still the goal. I really don't see the advantage of money in business other than to buy more debt. I really don't see the advantage. So, and I know some of you are thinking, well, you got to pay the debt back eventually. And the answer is no, you don't. You don't ever have to pay the debt back. You just got to sustain and maintain it. You just got to service the debt. As long as you service the debt, everyone's happy. Everyone's happy. So no, you don't have to pay it off ever. Like I said, if they would give me, 100-year mortgage, I'd take it on a house. If they would give me 100-year lease on a car, in other words, the car would dissolve in dust before I ever paid off the loan, I'd be all over that. I'd be all over that. Debt is a great tool when you use it right. So anyways, Pep, any other things? Anything else you wanted to?
Kodak is giving a nod in the pharma biotech industry. I just reading some of the comments. So I love Sam's view on debt, and I'm exactly the same. Somebody said that. So They obviously don't know you very well, but that's okay. They'll get to know you better. No, it's all good. So no, we're 50 minutes in, and when we first started this thing, we were thinking 30 to 45.
30.
And so we a lot of times increase to an hour, hour and 20. But tonight we're going to call it a night tonight. Unless Sam, you have something else you want to say goodbye on?
No, the real big story was the infrastructure. And just remember, you heard it here first. We were calling for that infrastructure bill. Why would we do that? About a month ago, Pep? We were hoping that they would do this. So you heard it here.
We were hoping that. You might have been hoping that. I can't even spell infrastructure. So don't even.
Anyways, you heard it here first. This passes. The budget they're looking at is $2 trillion. I promise you, it will be at least twice or even 5 times that they'll spend. They'll be over budget. Guaranteed, they're going to be over budget. It's just look out. And if deflation is still a danger, don't let them fool you with this inflation stuff. Deflation is the big concern. I still deeply believe that. So pay attention to your money. Get educated.
So guys, next week, same bat channel, same bat time, the Wealth Debate, 8 Eastern. I guess that's 8 o'clock in the morning in Australia, Perth, at least, I believe.
There you go.
Good to have you guys. And we will see you guys next time on the Wealth Debate. So 1 week from today. Have a great week, guys, and we will talk to you soon.
Always remember, all wealth is created.
You can keep talking because we haven't shut off yet, but it's all good. We'll get there.
All wealth